Needham Mehta is the managing director of the CFA Institute, lives in Russia, and a very acute observer of finances, the financial markets, and what we as the CFA Association are trying to do to make both the financial markets more effective and society better. So with that introduction, I will leave it to you to give us your words of wisdom. Thank you, Needham.
Thank you, Neil. Good evening, everyone, and greetings from London. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to share a part of your evening. It's good to be with you, even if remotely, and it's always fun to be at the Society Forecast dinner. As we know, forecasting is full of pitfalls. There was Niels Bohr, the Nobel laureate, who said that forecasting is very difficult, especially if it's about the future. And when the great J.P. Morgan was asked what he thought the markets would do, he thought for a while, and he said, "I think they'll fluctuate." He was a wise man indeed, but in our line of business, we can't avoid forecasting. We have to predict the future to profit from it. In fact, the capital allocation function of our economic system depends upon it. Now, I know you'll spend a lot of time this evening thinking about the outlook for your own market. Although I'm no expert on that, let me begin by briefly sharing with you some typical views from London. Most foreign investors understand the impact that the sanctions, lower oil prices, and a weaker ruble have had. They also understand that so much of the bad news is already reflected in prices. The rally this year shows that the pessimism may have been overdone. Now, looking ahead to 2016, the expectation is generally for some real growth, lower inflation, stronger balance of payment, and more normalization. As ever, the long-term hope is for investment-friendly policies, including economic restructuring and a mix of tight fiscal policy and loose monetary policy. Meanwhile, the longer-term concerns remain the same. They're about the duration and impact of the sanctions. Lessons from international experience for similar experiences point to a likely restructuring of the Russian economy, and Russia's integration with the world economy will likely be affected by the sanctions as well. Now, despite a very difficult economic and market environment in Russia over the last few years, it's pleasing to see that the mission of CFA Institute to build an investment management profession continues to attract more members. 20 years ago, we had no members in Russia. Well, today we have over 500. The growth rate over the last 5 years has been almost 15% per annum. And the candidates for the CFA program now number almost 2,000. All this is a testament to the desire for building professional competence and being part of a global community of investment professionals. Perhaps of greater interest than my view of your markets may be the result of a forecasting survey that we do every year, the Global Market Sentiment Survey. We send out the survey to about 125,000 members worldwide. So I know many of you will have responded to it last year. In summary, CFA Institute members were cautious about economic growth for this year. They expected an expansion of 2% versus a consensus forecast of 3.4%, similar to numbers cited by the World Bank. Now, despite an expectation for lower than consensus economic growth, markets were expected to rise modestly. Their top picks for equity market performance included the US, China, Japan, and Russia. Well, at this point in the year, that seems amazingly prescient because all these markets have had pretty good runs. The biggest risks to markets were cited as weakening economic growth, an end to quantitative easing, and geopolitical risks as well. We also took the opportunity to ask the survey respondents about the ethics and investor trust. Interestingly, almost 2/3 pointed to a lack of an ethical culture within financial firms, contributing to a lack of trust in finance. Now, given the recent fines for some of the largest banks in the world, that doesn't seem very surprising. We also asked what can be done to restore trust. And the response was that a better alignment of compensation with investor objectives and a zero tolerance for ethical breaches would help. So what would help to prevent another financial crisis? Well, we were told that better risk management at banks and the regulation of systemic risks would go a long way.